G'day legends, Shrek here, host of the Noob Spearo Podcast, interviews with Spearo legends from all over the planet. Today we are chatting with the most prolific vagabonding Spearo, I think, on the whole planet. It's Patrick, aka DEEPWATERDREAMIN on Instagram. Check out some of this guy's mad adventures. We get into a whole bunch of them today. We talk about world records. We talk about chasing Brazilian jungle fish, Mr. Joint spear guns. We talk about mental health, veteran life. We talk about the most nasty bug or illness that he's caught traveling to more than 80 countries and going spearfishing. We talk about the stigma around trash fish, and we get into a whole bunch of stuff, even his awkward bromance with Daniel Mann. But no, I jest. Before we get there, a couple of quick shout-outs. Really got a few to get through. Old Man Blue, Bert, is over in Brisbane on Thursday, the 6th of March at the Woolloongabba store, the Woolloongabba Adreno store. Come and visit me and Bert. We're going to be in store at Woolloongabba in Brisbane, and Bert is putting on a masterclass on how to catch crayfish or lobster, if you want to call it correctly. But we all just seem to call them crays in the Southern Hemisphere. But anyway, if you want to learn how to catch them, you want to learn what equipment would be advantageous to, making the most of your opportunities when you do get out cray hunting, Bert makes the best gear on the planet. It's tougher than anything you can imagine. They've towed a boat with his cray bag. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, it's going to be a cool session. I love doing these live events. How to catch crayfish with Bert from Old Man Blue, Thursday, the 6th of March from 5:30 in store at the Adreno Woolloongabba store. Come and join me. Hey, also, I got 2 voice messages. I've got a good one from my mate Scotty here. Had a bit of a loose situation, to say the least. Have a listen to Scotty.
Hey, Shreko. Just wanted to give you a bit of an update as to what happened on our last trip. Me and 2 other fellas had planned a trip out to the bunkers. We've been planning this trip for a few weeks. And the day before we were set to leave, one of the guys cancelled, and that left just 2 of us. So we were in a mad rush to try and find a third. Otherwise, we were going to have to cancel our trip. We ended up securing a bloke who wasn't a Spearo. He was a line fisherman, and he was content just to flick a line while we were in the water diving. That actually sounded pretty good to us because, we didn't have to rotate through and we could spend a bit more time in the water. Long story short, we ended up hitting the reef early morning, bagged out on trout in the first hour and a half, decided to try our luck on the outskirts of the reef in the channel and try our luck with some pelagics. So we did a couple of drifts. I think we were on our 3rd or 4th drift and we spotted a school of Spanish. Didn't get them on that drift, but swung back into the boat and reset ourselves and then let go where we thought they were. We picked a point of no return. So at the point of no return was, if we got to that point, that was time to call the boatie in because the current was picking up pretty strong and we didn't want to get drifted out to sea. So our last drift, the guy I was with managed to score himself a nice Spanish, and we pulled it in, slung it in, tied it to our torpedo float and waved the boatie in. And this is where things started to go a bit pear-shaped. The boatie didn't see us, or we didn't know what was going on, but we were waving our spear in the air and he didn't sort of head over in our direction. And like I said, the current was starting to rip through there pretty strong at this point. We couldn't fight against it. So we got to that little marker we'd said was point of no return, which was just a bit of a bommy's poking its nose out of the water. To make a dash for the reef because this boatie's not responding to our call. So that's what we did. We beelined it straight to the reef, just managed to make it to the tip before it went back into blue water and we were stuffed. So I dove down, shot into a bit of plate coral with my spear, used that as an anchor, secured it to our torpedo, and me and my mate and the Spanish were bobbing up and down in the current, waiting for our boatie to come rescue us. 15 minutes went past and no action from the boatie. We managed to see another boat, wave him down. He took us over to him, and sure enough, the boatie was asleep. So I won't get into what was said after that point, but the lesson was learnt, mate. Never trust a liney to do a Spearo's job. Since then, I've now incorporated little whistles under my float, and hopefully that makes things a bit safer. Anyway, lesson learned. Good on you, Shreko. Keep up the good work, mate. See ya.
Scotty is a wild man himself. Great to hear a wild story from a wild bloke. Thanks, Scotty, for sending that in. Also got a really important one here from Sven about what's happening in Victoria. some crisis situations. Anything you want will be linked up into today's show notes. If you want to follow up on Sven's voice message, go to noobspearo.com/Patrick, Patrick. Noobspearo.com/Patrick. Have a listen to Sven.
Hey, Noob Spearo community. Sven Franklin here. I have some rather disturbing news and I urgently need your support. The Victorian government in Australia is planning on getting rid of the fisheries officers that patrol the two main fishing areas in Victoria, Port Phillip Bay and Western Port Bay. They're planning on replacing these guys with 3 information booths where they hand out fishing guides instead. The fishing in Victoria is thriving, and this has taken years to get to this point. In my 8 years of spearfishing, this is the best we've ever seen. As we've all seen with places where overfishing and no fishing regulations are in place, there's been a huge decline like the abalone in South Africa or the scarcity of fish in the Med in Southeast Asia. This will have the same impact in Victorian waters. That's not a future that I want for myself and not one that I want for my kids and their kids. Please jump on and sign our petition so we can show our support to our fisheries officers and tell the government this is not what we want. I really appreciate your support. Cheers, legends.
All right, legend. You've definitely done well. Sven, thank you very much for that voice message and letting us know what's going on in your part of the world. We're a tiny little lifestyle sport, if you want to call spearfishing that. And it's important that we band together during these times and make sure that we are doing what we can to make our voice heard. And all of us are for making the ocean a place where we can bring our children and our children's children and still catch and do this awesome thing that we love, spearfishing. Hey, I don't want to muck around too much. We already have. It's been great getting some voice messages, but let's get into this episode with Patrick Ryan, a.k.a. at Deepwater Dreaming. This guy's a bloody legend. Here we go. Hey guys, this episode brought to you by Astard Roller Pole Spears. Astard is a brand rooted in craftsmanship and tradition, inspired by the Japanese freedivers, the Armour. Their logo, a hand-drawn star, symbolizes starting from a single point, exploring and returning safely, capturing the essence of their journey and design philosophy. Founded by Adam, who's spent 15 years in southern Japan, but originally from West Australia. He has a background in aviation, digital and photography, and him and his lifelong friend Kim, and a mechanical genius herself, founded Astard, which embodies a passion for quality, innovation and versatility. Check them out at astard.co. They have a roller pole spear that will make your head spin. I'll give you the hot tip. Check it out at astard.co. Use the code Noob Spearo. Have free shipping anywhere on the planet. You can't get any better than that. Go to astard.co. Check out their roller pole spear. You need one in your arsenal today. Check it out. Use the code Noob Spearo for free shipping anywhere in the world. Some days when you've maybe shot those 4 or 5 fish that you came for, might be time to pull out the pole spear, jump back in and rediscover that passion and learning that you had right at the start of your journey. This is one of the best tools for becoming a better hunter. Check it out, astard.co. Are you US based, looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website, so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends, and if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right, use the code NOOB10, N-O-O-B 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's Noob Spearo Podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code Noob Spearo to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom! G'day, legends out there. We're waking Patrick Ryan up. He's over in Bali and in Ahmed, I believe, and he's having his first morning coffee. We've got him up bright and early. There's about a 2-hour difference between Brisbane and Bali, but it's good to have you with you. Patrick, or Deepwater Dreaming on Instagram. We've been chatting backwards and forwards for years, so it's good to finally get the man on a video call.
How you doing, mate? How you doing?
I listened to your interview on the Spearo Hangout podcast. It was a cracky yarn, by the way, with the boys over there. Real banger of a chat. I love your accent. It's crazy because you've been so many places. You're just got a real mongrel accent.
Yeah, it's a pretty nasty one, I reckon. I got a bit of slang from here, from over in WA, some Auckland stuff, and then all throughout Europe and US and Canada. So yeah, something kind of weird there going on.
Do people still pick up that you're a Yank originally?
No, it's kind of hit and miss. It really depends, So
yeah.
If they're American and they haven't traveled, they might even think that I'm from somewhere else sometimes.
Yeah. When I was traveling a few years ago, I was sort of in Europe at one point and doing this long walk, and I was with these Americans. It seemed like there was almost this quasi shame about being American for a while. I was like, man, you guys come from a rad country. Like, there's so many great things about America. I don't know why people aren't proud of being from there. Like, maybe they're embarrassed about certain things from a political point of view, but I like Americans. They're like loud, like outgoing, but also like you kind of always know where you stand. There's not a lot of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I reckon Americans are like cousins of Australians, and Canadians are like the cousins of Kiwis.
Yeah,
Might get a little bit flat for that. But.
Yeah. Shots fired. I like it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's good to chat with you anyway. So you've been traveling and spearfishing. You're probably one of the most prolific traveling spearos in the world. Like, you've just been so many different places and, just decided that you were going to go and shoot species in random places, and you've actually done it. You followed through, which says a lot about you and your character, because traveling requires a level of resilience that most people aren't familiar with, I reckon. So you've got to be determined, you've got to be capable of being lonely, and then to go and shoot fish in that environment too, where you probably don't have the best gear all of the time. You don't have you may be the best guides in the world. Maybe no one's even done what you've done before. So it takes a level of agency and intentionality that I quite admire.
Yeah, the last sort of couple little trips that we were on recently down in Brazil and Dominican, that was really testing me a lot, because it was just constantly, weather windows when we're not holding in, and then I got super sick, and I'm lugging this big bag of gear around, and I'm like, I'm not diving at the same time, so I was just like, oh man, I'm going from one place to another, just trying to find a location where I could dive, but that distance was massive, so it was like 34-hour bus, and then a plane from here, and so you pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. It definitely test your character a bit after a while.
Some people think traveling's relaxing. Like maybe it is if you just like fly into a country, get bussed to the resort and sit there for 6 days. But most traveling's actually like pretty strenuous. Like, it's a fairly high stress environment because you kind of always have to be on the ball with what's going on around you. Like, your situational awareness has to be onto it. You've got to be familiar. Maybe you're not even in a country where they speak English, so you've kind of got to be across some of the likely language issues. And then, like, when you're going to try and go spearfishing in those countries, often where it's probably not very common, because it's, it's not everywhere. It's not ubiquitous. It's like, it's kind of still a very niche thing in most places in the world. So I remember you reached out a few years ago and you were talking about, you were like, hey, do you know anyone that's been spearfishing in the Dominican Republic? And we didn't. I don't think we pointed you to anyone useful. But you went and did it anyway, and you were reaching out, telling us some stories about like overstayer fees and stuff like that, because you ended up staying over your time. Tell me a little bit about the Dominican Republic, if you can.
Man, the Dominican was an interesting place. I probably should have done a little bit more research on it, but I kind of just bit the bullet. I sold my car in Albania and just decided to go straight over. So when I did get there, I was told by a lot of people that, it's like this island paradise, and it's all beautiful tropical waters and yada, yada, yada. When I got there, it was, first of all, I was like next to the windsurfing capital of the world. So that tells you something right there. Right across the other way was these huge waves, which are just super nasty, super strong surge and current. And but that was a dive spot. So, and then not having anyone to go with as well. So you're going in pretty intense conditions alone. One of the days that I was out there, I remember these guys were going for a surf and they were getting towed out on jet skis. So they're like, hey, mate, do you want me to take you to the back of the set? So I'm like, I would love that, but to be honest, it's actually not a really good idea because if I go out there and I don't know the power of the water, I might not be able to get back in. So I said, I'll just try to swim out past the waves, and if I can't get out, then I probably shouldn't be going out in the first place. So.
Do you find that like getting out is easier than getting in?
Getting out is way easier than getting in. Yeah, like for me personally, I think.
Okay.
It's a bit more strenuous when you have those big waves and stuff like that. But once you get out there, you're more relaxed, and it's like.
Oh no, I mean like coming in, like going out through big surf is one thing, but then coming in and trying to get back up on rocks or a cliff face or whatever, and you may be carrying some fish, that seems even more hectic.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to really time it well, and I've got a pretty good technique where I take one of my fins off halfway in the middle of a wave, basically, and I'll just try to body surf my way in and just kind of like a seal or like an orca sliding up on a beach to hunt a seal, like real ugly looking, but get rolled around and I get up there.
Yeah, sick. And tear some holes out of your wetsuits.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times have you done it?
Holes in the wetsuit? Not too many, actually. I just got one little pinhole in mine now, so pretty good.
Man, you're way more delicate than I am. I've like ripped the ass out of a few. I've like ripped elbows out, and yeah.
I switched out from the smooth skin now, so I'm just running a standard 3 mil, but open shell, so a lot more resilient.
Yeah. Those smooth skins are nice in the wind and the cold, but then they're just a bit more delicate, eh?
Oh yes, they're really worth their money in terms of that wind protection, especially in the colder climate.
Did you run a polo sub for a while, or?
No, I was wearing I was running Meister.
Yeah.
So Meister's 7 mil and 5 mil.
Yeah.
And then I just transitioned from those guys over to joint spearfishing here. And yeah, really, really loving it now. So
I love the camo pattern on those joint spearfishing wetsuits. That's sick.
It's so much different in real life too. It's like online, it looks a little bit, maybe a little too flashy or a little too poppy, but once you get it in the water and it gets wet, it kind of the color gets a little darker. It looks really, really cool amongst the murky waters.
Yeah, sick. Oh, good. Well, I guess your latest adventure was the Brazil river fish, and nothing says like crazy Spearo like going into the middle of the Brazilian Amazonian rainforest and jumping in somewhere and shooting a fish that no one else has shot before.
Oh man, it's I was with a mate down there, and he went to see me in Dominican, so I returned the favor and went out to see him in Brazil. But he's like, "Hey, mate, you want to just go for a dive in the jungle here?" I'm like, "Are you taking the piss or what? Like, you can't be joking. You can't be serious, And he's like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. I fished here my whole life." And so I was like, "Okay, let's give it a go." He was joking around about anacondas and piranhas and stuff, and I just wasn't taking him seriously. I thought he was, surely you're not going to get in the water if there's anacondas and piranhas. Well, after we did go in the water, he told me, no, bro, I'm serious. I'm serious. There's big anacondas there, man. Nasty work.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What were you chasing?
Initially, I was chasing this fish called a dorado, and it's like a golden dorado. So I don't even know how to explain it. Super, this bright orange and yellow. The problem with these fish is the regulations, going back to those rules and regulations that you have to kind of be wary of in each country that you travel. When you're in a river source or even in a lake or whatever, you cannot hunt within X amount of feet from a waterfall.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like their main habitat, is they're super predatory hunters. I would consider them hunting like a snapper, something like that, but in the river.
Wow. It's like it's like a bass. I just Googled it. It's Salminus maxillaris, a powerful game fish of the characin family, or Characidae. I don't know. I'm butchering it for sure. But
Yeah,
it looks like a bass crossed with like a tarpon crossed with a trout or something, like kind of crazy looking.
yeah, they're super unique fish, very beautiful, like and apparently really good to eat. And
Big
they
mouth
fight
on them
like hell.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just fight like hell, I guess. So that was the target species. Then once I got into the river, I quickly realized that it was more trying to just get a fish on the table sort of thing, because it was extremely dirty water, hard, heavy current, and like finding your mark again when you were on the bottom was almost impossible. I was using reference points on the side of the river, like a tree or a rock here, to figure out where I was. But basically, you're constantly spinning straight into the current, and then you're doing your drop. And hopefully, you're landing 5 meters down to land on your target. But yeah, very unique diving, super, super dirty. We both got ear infections like right away, straight after that. So, yes, very challenging.
They say that like the biome in your ears is like, your body develops resilience to, different water types and stuff, like the bacteria in different water and stuff. I guess the Amazon's like, an amazing different environment. So your body's probably not going to be prepared to fight off most of the nasty stuff that you could get in your ears there.
Yeah, apparently, I forgot who told me this, but yeah, chuck some lemon juice or some sort of acid in your ear. It helps a lot. I don't know if that's true or not, but
yeah, it's it. Like I remember telling a doctor that I was doing like 50-50 eucalyptus and olive oil, and that was the way I used to sort of look after my ears, because I didn't like the swimmer's ear with the alcohol based stuff because it just dries them out too much, and you want that skin to kind of be pliable and nice. Anyway, he was kind of frowning at me, but he was like, "Yeah, I can possibly see how it could work because like obviously like antifungal, antibacterial stuff in the eucalyptus." But he wasn't like sold on it. But yeah, we all have our own sort of home remedies. But lemon sounds like full on bro science like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's sort of like that in the spearfishing world. Is people kind of make things up and just pass it along, and all of a sudden it becomes some kind of thing. But
so you adjusted your expectations. I want to come back to ears in a sec, but you adjusted your expectations, and then and did you actually get an opportunity to see one of those Dorado in the river, or?
I never did actually see one of those. So the fish that I ended up hunting, which I can't even pronounce the name, it's written down there on I think there's a photo of it on my Instagram. But yeah, the fish that I ended up hunting, I sort of worked out their behavior over a few days, and eventually I was like, okay, this is going to be my target species. I asked my mate, he's like, if you're seeing them this big, he's like, I don't know anyone that's even seen anything like that ever.
Wow.
So, the location, usually they're really small. Usually they're like maybe 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos. It's like a good size one.
Okay.
And so for it to be double that was pretty nice.
Yeah, 4.2 kilos, like nearly 10 pounds. Kurumbata?
Kurumbata, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool.
The ugly fish.
Yeah.
Tastes horrible. Yeah. But I ate it just to see what it was like. Obviously, when you're hunting it, you got to eat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a unique experience. So I liked it. It was cool diving in the Amazon.
While we're talking about yuck fish, I was watching a Daniel Mann video a few years ago, and you name dropped the Noob Spearo talking about trash fish.
Trash fish.
Yeah.
I shoot a lot of trash fish, actually, mate. So it's okay.
Yeah, no, I got it. Have you become a good cook, or are you still like completely disparaging?
I used to be a chef. By trade in Australia.
Yeah.
And so I transitioned a lot of those things and that knowledge over to cooking. But since I'm traveling all the time, I really don't throw up a lot of recipes, or I don't do a lot of fish cooking, catch and cook sort of stuff. Because usually the facilities I have aren't the best in terms of cooking wise. So,
what's your hierarchy with regards to like flavor preference with fish? What makes a trash fish? What makes a good fish?
Man, it's interesting because we did it back to that. I think it's a different Dan Mann video. Maybe it's the same. I'm not sure. But we did like a little blind taste test.
Yeah,
and
that's the one.
We ended up liking the mullet.
Yeah,
which was, everyone says, "Oh, it's trash, disgusting." We're completely blindfolded, had no idea what we were going after, and it was like a sargo, dorado, maybe, and like a mullet.
Yeah,
and
right.
we preferred the mullet sashimi over everything, which is very surprising.
Yeah, I like mullet, particularly smoked.
And yeah, it depends too. It's like where you get the fish as well. I noticed like in the Mediterranean, I like barracuda.
Yeah.
But if I go to the Dominican, for example, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, just returning back to that Brazilian river, you're in the Amazon. You're swimming into current. You're sort of taking these drops and hitting the bottom, hopefully 5 meters back from where you started on the surface. Well, how good was the viz?
Oh man, it was basically just the tip of the gun, and then after that, you just see silhouettes.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of used to that because of the diving in Auckland, like right there in the city, pretty much. I had a few spots there where it was really dirty, but just chasing those silhouettes for the canoes and whatnot. So very similar hunting technique, and I basically just bring my gun back a little, and I'm kind of almost shooting from the hip on a 105. So you're just a little kind of aiming just at those silhouettes, really.
And you're a rear handle guy too, eh? You don't muck around with the mid handle stuff?
No, I couldn't be asked, man.
Yeah. And you're running a joint spear gun as well, eh, Mr. Joint's?
Yeah, I've got a 105, Bow 105. It's super, super powerful. Way overdone for the river, but in terms of the ocean and stuff, it's perfect balance for everything.
Right. Yeah, right. How do you travel with that thing?
So I've been using the same bag for, I don't know, 8 years, maybe 7 or 8 years. It's starting to kind of fall apart now, but I love it. It just works like a champion. It's a Kathmandu snowboard bag.
Yeah.
Soft top. And it just opens up fully it's shaped like a rectangle, obviously. And then the zip comes all the way around both sides. So that flap opens up completely. Then you have a secure storage space inside, which is like just a little zip pocket where you can put your nitty gritty little stuff, all your Dyneema and crimps and whatever. And then, I just kind of use my wetsuit to protect my fins and strap it all in and put spare shafts on either side and then the gun on the other side. So it's a rigid frame basically. And that protects everything real nice.
And is that oversized?
It technically is because it's like 180 centimeters.
Oh, wow.
But the flap on top, I just fold it over to whatever size. So basically, how the sport tube works, you just can extend it or break it down or what you need to do. So basically the same thing. I just fold that flap over on the top, and then I strap it in, and then it's just side to side. It becomes within the regulations. So really good.
That's sick. What are you going to do when the gun bag finally the gear bag finally dies, though?
Oh, mate, I'm probably going to get the exact same one again if they still make it.
Yeah, right.
It's got wheels on the bottom. It's got a hard backing. So the hard backing and hard bottom, and then the top shell is soft. And then I've got another bag inside of that. I've got my joint gun bag.
Yep.
So I use that when I'm on my dive days and I'm like on the motorbike or whatever. I'll just chuck all that stuff in there and head for the races.
Nice. Yeah, cool, crazy. So you're hunting with a 105. You're on the bottom of this river. How deep were you hunting in such crap viz?
This was 7 to 9 meters in this one specific location. It sort of was real shallow for a while, almost too shallow. Yeah. And if you're too shallow, your fins were picking up a lot of this murky water.
Yep.
All the silt and whatnot. So I had to find deeper water. And so went over to this one location where the current was sort of really picking up, but that was where that deeper drop off was. And I mean, that's deep for this river. Super shallow, but it's deep for the river.
Yeah.
And I found like a big boulder that I was able to hold on to underwater. So I just try to mark that location with a tree on the side of the river and try to do that.
When you're in that hectic current, you just want something to hang on to and maybe hide half your profile behind.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. And yeah, that was one of the reasons I was using that boulder was just to hide my profile. It was super dirty though anyway, so, and I was using the front of my back. So those fish were, I don't think they really had a chance to see me.
Yeah, nice. Is it something you'd do again?
I would actually do it again. We're planning, me and my buddy down there, we're planning for a trip to, what is it called? To the region of Natal. I believe it's called Natal.
Yeah, in South Africa.
Oh no, I think it's in Natal in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, there's this region. Maybe there's not. Maybe I'm mistaken. No, the far north of Brazil, and there's just.
Oh no, you're right. It's near the. I can see it anyway. Yeah, Natal, it's a big region. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So that region up there, and then go inland, and there's apparently some of the best freshwater diving in all of Brazil. I don't think it's freshwater diving. Freshwater fishing, I don't think anyone really does go diving up there much, but yeah, it's a little different up there because you do have the risk of crocs and stuff like that.
Yeah, righto. You're not far off from Africa, like when you're up in Natal. Like it's about as close to Africa, I think, as Brazil gets. And you're only I guess you're still quite a long way away. But have you mucked around with the idea of doing that western side of Africa as well?
Oh yeah, hell yeah! Like all that whole west coast is like super interesting. A lot of French guys go out there from France. I know it's a bunch of guys go out there maybe because that region speaks French, so it's easy for them to navigate.
Yeah,
but really, really good diving out there.
When I first pulled up the map and didn't have a look at the scale, I was like, it's quite close to Africa. And then I look at it and I'm like, oh, no, it's still like more than 2,000 kilometers. But, yeah.
I think the south of Brazil to north of Brazil is actually further than that
distance.
That distance to Africa. So, yeah, it just goes to show how big Brazil is.
So, west coast of Africa, have you done some of it? Sorry, I missed.
I haven't done any of it, mate. I've done, like the Azores and Cape Verde out there. That was really, really good diving, but that doesn't count for Africa. You got to be on the land for me personally.
Well, the Azores is officially part of Portugal.
You're in Portugal here. And Cape Verde, Africa.
I see where you are. Yeah, you're not far off, like that northwestern part of Africa, anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, Morocco looks pretty good as well.
Yeah, righto. Yeah. Have they got spearfishing there? Much is it popular there?
Super good. Good Dentex hunting, really epic Dentex hunting up there in Casablanca. It's pretty much got all the med fish and also those big corvina, like 50 kg ones. So
wow. And then the Canary Islands is sort of that sort of south. It's amazing when you start just looking around the world, you get curious about all different spots. And I guess this is like in your life, just looking at Google Maps going, what am I going to do next?
I was going to go meet up with a mate and over there, Canary Islands, and go like Madeira to the Canary Islands, help him sail across and see some wahoo. But then I was like, well, I'm already going to Bali. We've got wahoo here, so I better just get on the road and get my ass over to Asia.
Yeah, righto. And your wife's Albanian, is that right?
Yeah, the missus is Albanian.
Yeah.
So I picked her up along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And I remember on that Spearo UK, the Hangout podcast, you were saying like Albania is like in your top 3 as a spearfishing destination.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. We just recently went back to visit family and stuff like that. But I went back to my place that I was living in, Saranda, the south in Tamil, Saranda. Really, really, really cool location. But I just noticed like everything just changed a lot since I've been gone just this last year and a half.
Oh, wow.
the infrastructure is just crazy. It's super packed. And so now it kind of puts it a little back on the list, I would say.
Yeah.
Just because, it's like, it used to be a lot quieter and pretty much had it to itself, basically. But now it's just super jam-packed.
Yeah, okay.
And real dangerous in terms of boats as well in the summer. So.
Yeah, you've had a few near misses I've seen over the years. There was you told me a story a few years ago in our IG chat about a couple of jet skis over top of your head, and I've seen the Daniel Mann video where that cruise ship nearly comes by you guys, and
it's pretty hectic out there in the summer. So it's almost getting to the point where you can't even dive it in the summer. It's so hectic with boats. So, but there's still good fish to be had.
Yeah. Scariest time where, like, for a boat strike in particular or a jet ski strike?
I've never gotten struck by a jet ski or boat. I've come real close, not close enough to the prop where I was that concerned, but more worried about maybe getting knocked out in the water. But yeah, I would say that jet ski incident was pretty intense. It's like I was sort of on my last breath, and then all of a sudden, these jet skis come flying around my float. So yeah, I was just held down to the bottom and holding onto a rock. And eventually I was running out of air. So I was like, well, I either go up, run the risk of getting hit by the boat or the jet ski, or just black out. So I was like, well, let's go up. Put my gun up first out of the water. And then just right as I was about to surface, they took off, which was super, super lucky. Yeah, so I stopped using my float actually after that because I noticed in some countries around the world that people aren't as educated about diving. They use that as like just a fun buoy to do donuts around, you know? So,
you're actually putting a target on the top of the water.
Yeah, it's crazy. So if they don't know you're there and you're sensitive with your ears, you know, and you're very aware of your surroundings, I think you're a lot more safe than having that damn buoy.
In Australia, we got USFA and the AUF, and they've both ran these sort of campaigns teaching people about the alpha flag and look out, diver below. And those stickers are great because they go on every Spearo's car, and then, you know, hopefully, you know, people just slowly start to learn about it. But we're in a Western modern country where, you know, that's kind of a priority. But in a lot of other countries, I can definitely see the reality you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, especially when they're renting jet skis for like 12-year-olds and just saying go for it, you know? So, and everyone's like sort of this macho kind of thing in Albania where everyone's trying to be more masculine and more testosterone and look at me. So everyone's trying to outdo each other. So they're just trying to go as fast as they can. And I love Albania, but that's one of the problems there, I'd say.
When I listen to your story about hunting Dentex over there, I always think like sometimes those species that are right on the edge of our capability or our hunting knowledge and stuff, they're the most intriguing fish to hunt. And I would suggest that that's potentially one of the reasons why you loved Albania the most was because you got a lot of opportunity to go and hunt them. Would that be fair?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the fish that right now, I've got basically the same sort of fish. I've got the midnight snapper. And these things, I've got a super big school of them over here in Ahmed. And they are just bastards. They just stay right on the edge of your range. You know, they're sort of coming in just at the last few seconds of your breath hold. You got to be super quiet and really hunt with a purpose when you're hunting these things. So, yeah, same with the Dentex. It's sort of that fish that you're just trying to understand. You have to do everything you can in your capabilities to really understand the hunting technique, the fish, the patterns of the current, right? Everything. Where there's sort of what structure they like, what bait fish will present itself prior to them coming in or out. So all the basics, you know.
How did you first start becoming interested in hunting Dentex?
You know, I reckon it was always that I've heard a lot of people that are just like Dentex is like that one fish that you got to get in the med, and if you can get the Dentex in the med, then it's like you finally conquered the med. So that was always the thing. I was chasing those around in Greece and Turkey and all around Montenegro. I was just chasing them, could never get close. Finally, I figured it out. I figured out sort of how they maneuver themselves and present themselves. And I ended up getting a small one in Greece. That was my first one. So I was like, okay, I think that maybe I have a chance at this, And they're notoriously deep fish as well. And Mediterranean is known to be deep diving anyways. And the clear water doesn't help either. So
Yeah.
I found finding a place that is kind of a little murky actually helps a lot in terms of hunting the Dentex. You don't want that like crystal clear biz. And as I was traveling around Europe, I just kept going on the hunt for these Dentex. So eventually I found Albania, and I noticed these things were like way more shallow than I've heard other people talk about. Like people are usually talking about 25, 30, 40 meters. And I was seeing really nice ones starting at 8 meters. So
Wow.
it was crazy. I had a friend of mine across in Porto, and he, I think he was a world record holder for Dentex previously, and then someone took it from him. But he was hunting like variable weight, drop weight, 40-meter dives to hunt the same sort of fish that we were hunting 2 kilometers away in the mill.
Wow.
So his island, the my level shoreline there was only 2 kilometers away, but on the Albanian side, they were super shallow.
Wow.
So very interesting how it changed.
Do you think that's just purely like pressure from Spearos that's changing that behavior?
I honestly reckon it has to be, because it's like, Greece is probably one of the most Spearo-dense populations on Earth, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like you go to Spearo forums and there's tons of communities over there. And if you try to sell a gun on a Facebook marketplace, it's gone in a second. But crazy amounts of divers, all ranging in different levels as well. And they'll shoot at everything. When they're starting out, they're shooting at everything. So these fish kind of learn that behavior, and I think they just start going deeper and deeper until they're more comfortable.
Yeah. So I guess my other question is, if it's overcast, like if you got heavy cloud sky, or low light, like dawn and dusk, would you find those fish higher in the water column at those times?
I do, yeah. Stormy weather. I used to love going out in stormy, like nasty, high windy, dark, cloudy days, and yeah, those Dentex. Those are the days when the Dentex were like high in the water column and moving around a lot more different too. A little more sporadic in their movements, but they were eating a lot more.
Do you see like breeding or courting behavior at certain times of the year? Did you observe any of that?
I did see post winter, so coming in like spring, they were just everywhere. So yeah, mating behavior. Same with, they were almost mirroring the same as the what do you call them, the Arata in Italy, or golden. What's it? Golden
Groper.
Golden. Yeah, that was Arata, Italian Arata in English. What is it? Gilthead bream. Sorry, there you go.
Oh yep. Gilthead.
So they were, the gilthead bream. So many different languages, the same name of fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon they were mirroring that almost. Their
same behavior. And
same behavior.
Yeah, right.
Mate, it's still early over here for me. I'm getting this coffee down, trying to pick it up.
At least you didn't bust out crepuscular like your boy Daniel Mann did on me one day. I was like, what the hell does that mean? And he like anytime you jump on the phone with Dan, whether it's on a podcast or in real life, he's busting out vocab that makes me like go, hang on, I got to look that up. But I like being around that. He's
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. You guys get on like a house on fire, apparently.
It's a shit show, mate. We got to keep our distance for a while, because otherwise we'll end up in a predicament, I reckon.
Just a romance. You'll leave your wives for each other.
Yeah, we just linked up in Paris actually with the ladies, and we did a little non-spearing trip, but just because we were in town. But yeah, real good times over there. little too many lines, I think, but
Yeah.
can't go wrong with Scariest, right?
Yeah. What's it like diving with them?
Diving with Dan is so easy. It's like everything that I want in a dive buddy is he's got it, and vice versa for me. I really I don't hunt a lot with a lot of guys, which I know don't dive alone, but it's because I've been in a lot of situations where I've been stranded out there and left I'm about to do a deep drop, and then I look over my shoulder and shit, now I'm down by myself. So I'm in a predicament down at the bottom, So yeah, with him, I don't have to worry. I'm just like, it's one up, one down. We know where we're going. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he wants to dive here, we dive. If I want to dive here, we dive. And we just watch each other's back real hard. So helps out a lot. And that one video of him diving down in the middle of the channel there, and that ferry came, and I was kind of grunted from the surface, and and so he can turn around and look and get his ass back up there because wasn't much time before that ferry came in.
Arriving on day one of the spearfishing trip of a lifetime and feeling underdone, unfit, and out of breath is incredibly underwhelming. Well, I've got a great solution for you today. Go to noobspearo.com/spearready and take part in a 50-day preparation program to get you into shape to make the most of a trip of a lifetime. This is a 50-day journey designed to get you in great shape to make the most of this trip. I consulted a bunch of legends to help me put together this program, including Adam Stern, Australian freediving legend, Jared Rosenberg from Earth and Ocean Fit, and Dr. Jaap Verbaas, author of Longer and Deeper, as well as a bunch of others to help me put together a 50-day program that will get you results. And I know it works. We've put a bunch of groups through this now, and people have seen huge improvements and landed on a charter or a trip and actually been able to tap into some of their best spearfishing fitness. Check it out at noobspearo.com/spearready. Jump in a 50-day program to make the most. If you are 2 months out from that trip of a lifetime, let me encourage you, get spear ready. Go to noobspearo.com/spearready. This podcast is brought to you by aqualite.com.au. This is the best solution, bar none, for staying hydrated in the ocean. If you're a Spearo, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's a game changer. If you're doing extended trips and the cramp starts to set in and the old body's telling you, hey, that's enough, just get hydrated and it will save you a whole heap of woe. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code NoobSpearo at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save 10%. Noob Spearo's partner, Killshot Spear Guns, bring more to you than just wicked reliable timber spear guns. They also make awesome merch. Check it out at killshotspearguns.com. There's an awesome range of trucker hats, beanies, bucket hats, and more at killshotspearguns.com. Check out Depth Charge Shelters while you're there. Based in the Isla Morada, the Florida Keys, the Killshot Spear Guns team are a wicked, passionate bunch. Proud partners of the Noob Spearo Podcast. Check them out at killshotspearguns.com. Are you much for filming?
I love photography and filming. I am so sick of carrying that gear around.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of photography back in my early days of just traveling in general. But carrying around big old Sony A7 and 3 lenses and a tripod and it gets old quick, especially when you're carrying timber guns. Timber guns are a little more heavy and burdensome, but I love them. So a little bit of a trade-off.
Well, nice stability with a shot, but yeah, you got that extra mass and a bit extra weight.
Buttery smooth. Shoot it with your pinky finger, and it's not going to bust the teeth out.
Yeah. yeah, you make a good point. So what are you still using a GoPro, or are you using an Osmo, or?
Yeah, I've got a GoPro now. I'm actually going to switch over to the Osmo. Shortly when I can find a shop that sells one. Up here in Auckland, it's pretty quiet. Might have to do a trip down to Dentex, down to the main part of Bali. to be able to get that. But yeah, switching over. I use a gun mount, which is, I don't know, I like that shot. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The classic Mediterranean style those guys use down there. But,
yeah.
Yeah, I just got like a titanium mount that goes in between the back screw on the trigger neck, and it fits in there quite nicely on the right hand side.
Oh yeah,
that
so
way
it's quite far back on the gun.
Yeah, it's all the way back, so you have full view of the whole gun and your shots and everything. So.
Yeah, you'd notice inaccuracy pretty quick. You'd be like, that's a good thing about a gun mount. You get to know exactly what your gun's doing, and if you've got like bad habits with the platform, the way you're holding the gun. Because if you're like limp wristed or you haven't, your elbow's slightly bent, like you get that, the recoil just shows through straight away. Eh? Even on maybe with a timber gun, it's a lot more forgiving. But
yeah, with the timber gun, it's a quick maybe like few milliseconds of just vibration that you see on the camera when you're on real slow mo. But right after that, you can clearly see the shaft exiting the gun and clearly see it, the path of flight and everything. So I use that a lot to if I start to miss maybe and I'm starting doubting myself or whatever, I'll go ahead and review some of that footage of the day and just try to see what's going on, play over stuff. Right?
I bought a 7mm like European shaft with a nose cone. I'd never had a spear with a nose cone before. I've always sort of stuck to South African spears. The good, the bad, and the ugly South African spears, because there's definitely some variable quality out of there. But the Rob Allen shafts, I got to tell you, they're pretty friggin' tough, like and reliable.
Yeah, they're spot on.
Yeah, the European shaft was beautiful. Like just you feel it when it snaps in your trigger mech, how well their tolerances are and that attention to detail. Beautiful, beautiful. Fired out of the gun, perfect. Bent it completely on I think my third dive with it. $140 gone, and I was just like, yeah, I'm never doing it again. I'm just back to my Rob Allen shafts, I think. But and I like 7.5 as well.
Yeah, not only that, and it's like over in Australia, like getting those European shafts, you got to pay a little extra, don't you? So.
Yeah. We get the tariffs.
You got the gringo tax.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Patrick, we kind of we jumped right in the middle of some of your adventures. I'd love to go, if we could rewind right to how it all started. So, like, I believe you're in the military, but when did spearfishing start for you? Like, how did it all work? How old are you now, and how old were you when you started?
I'm 35 now. I don't even know, mate. How old I was. Yeah, I got out of the military. I started traveling around. Once I got out, I was just traveling around. I started meeting a bunch of people as you do. Started sort of getting into. I was super scared of the water back in the day. Actually, which is, I don't know if anyone knows that, but I used to hate the water. Freaked out about the water. I wouldn't go too deep. I don't know what it was, but I was just scared. So went on a trip to Sri Lanka, and then I was there with a friend of mine, and they were diving for like a week. They ended up doing like a dive course, scuba diving, and I was like, "What the hell am I going to do this whole time?" I'm just here by myself in this random place, and so I was like, "You know what? Screw it." So I just booked myself in and did the course. Had some pretty unfavorable conditions, big surge, dirty. It was weird. It got kind of stormy and very unforgiving weather, which is unlike Sri Lanka. Usually it's pretty nice there.
Yeah.
So I got back from that trip, and I was working on Rottnest Island for the chef, and so Rottnest Island, super epic diving, absolutely amazing, crystal clear water, a little sharky, but that's all right. So you're not allowed to have a car over in Rottnest, so I was on my bicycle, and I was biking around with my BCD and my tank, and I wear my whole wetsuit at the same time because I didn't have anything. I didn't want to carry it in an extra bag. Did a trip up to Exmouth. Took a little real shit little gun. So I think it was like a 50 or something, like just something you got at an actual fishing store, and it was more like a toy than anything really. Got in there, Still bad conditions, but I was kind of like, man, this is pretty cool. I like this. And I ended up cycling across Australia from Cottesloe Beach to Bondi Beach. So I had quite a lot of time to think. So I had 31 days. So it took me to cycle across. But while I was doing that, I was listening to all your podcasts actually back in the day. And then I was like, when I got across, I was like, as a congratulatory gift to myself, I'm going to get myself a rifle. So I got myself an actual real gun, a proper gun, and just decided to dedicate myself to it and try to learn, So.
Where did you cycle from? Sorry, so I heard you ended up in Bondi. Where did you start?
Cottesloe Beach. Perth, yeah.
It's in Perth.
Yeah.
So you biked from Perth. So you would have gone across the Nullarbor.
Yeah, in the middle of the summer. What a good idea.
Holy moly, man.
It's fun as hell, mate.
Hectic. Yeah. 31 days. How many kilometers is that?
It's like, 5,012 kilometers or something like that.
5,000. 5,000 divided by 30. You're really challenging me here, man. It's like 150 kilometers a day or something?
I was doing 250 days. Sometimes on the real flat section. So, when there was a real flat section and I had a tailwind, which I didn't most of the time, because that time of year there's a headwind across the Nullarbor. I took advantage of it and really get into it.
Far out. That's some beast mode stuff, right? That would have been a cool journey, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it was epic, mate. It was super epic. It was cool until I got to freaking Sydney, and then all the bogans were freaking trying to drive me off the road. I was like, mate, come on.
How bad are Sydney drivers, eh? They're terrible. And the roads there are crap too. The tolls are awful.
Well, everyone hates cyclists anyway, so I wasn't helping myself. Yeah, but it was what a savage trip. And then, I got across and
what a rife.
I stayed with an army mate of mine. He's like in the Australian Army. And then stayed with him for a bit and ended up finding myself in Auckland. I didn't know anybody there. Just kind of roughed up just to dive because I heard it was good fish. So basically went from nothing to just straight into diving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your military service, what you did when you were in the Army?
I was only in for 4 years. But yeah, we went over. I was stationed over there in Germany. Did real quick, got called over to deploy. So did a big year stint in Iraq. And when I got back from Iraq, then I was like, did a quick reclass, did a different job, Cav Scout, and then got out real quick.
Yeah.
So saw some action over there, and then after I got out of there, I was like, I'm just gonna kind of float around for a little bit, keep the headspace going.
Yeah. That's a bit of a passion of yours, the mental health side of things. Do you find a lot of the discussion around it cliche, or is it something you like to talk about?
No, the discussion about it, I mean, it's that bike trip I just told you about was actually, I was doing that for a charity for raising awareness for veteran suicide. So
nice.
That was for on the Australian front and the American front as well. So I was partnered with the nonprofits in Australia and in the US.
Very cool.
And so that's the reason I was doing that. And that's why I was punching out those big kilometers to sort of really put a name on it.
I did a walk similar length. It was 31 days, but it was 800 Ks. So it puts it in context, what you can do on a bike, but it would have been hard.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That would have been a hard trip.
I did so right before I did the bike trip, because I didn't have a bike at the time. I did a walk. So I did what's it called? In Western Australia, it's called something trail. I can't think of the name of it on the top of my head. It's the longest hiking trail in Australia, I believe. Bibbulmun Track.
Bibbulmun Track. Yeah, I can see it here from Kalamunda in the Perth Hills to Albany on the south coast. Yeah, righto. Wow.
Yeah, that's the one. So that was 1,000-something kilometers as well. So that was just my training for the bike ride. So, yeah, those walks are good.
Yeah, man, it clears your head.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You feel super good when you get out. And that's kind of why I came over here straight away to sort of jump around. But
no,
that's the reason I jumped straight over here to Asia, because I was like, I was in Brazil. I wasn't diving as much as I wanted to. And, you know, I started noticing myself, started to get frustrated, and my sleep was off and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I need to clear my head. I need to get in the water. And
no, part of the reason why I went in on the walks and the bike discussion is because like I find a lot of Spearos, like that mind-body connection that we get in the water, it's not necessarily just spearfishing that fills that itch. And like most of us kind of have this almost, not I wouldn't say most of us, I would say there were a lot of us that share that sort of like that joy that you get from being immersed in nature, doing something really physical, and it just seems to work stuff out. You don't need to sit down in a therapy lounge all the time. Sometimes it's more just walking, thinking, and just like for me, praying. But like that's a big part of it. It's like this active. I always say Spearos are like we're like it's active mindfulness for the ADHD spearfishing. You know, like it's
100%.
Like, and I just find it's a real way that we can process deep stuff, and it doesn't have to be, you know, like with some, you know, Freud-like character on a couch.
I would even say like 99% of the way you deal with stuff when you're in the water or doing that sort of physical challenges, it's just subconsciously you're getting it done. You're not even really focused on it, but when you get out of that space, you're a lot more clear-headed.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
and just subconsciously, it just does it by itself.
Yeah. You know? How does personal question? How does anxiety manifest for you?
Like in the water or just in general?
No, just in general. Like, how do you know when you're like you know you need some vitamin C? You know, like you need to get in the water.
Yeah.
How do you know when you're not running right?
I mean, you know, with the PTSD and stuff that I have from the military, it's like that kind of gets all jumbled in real quick. So the anxiety and all that, I really understand when I'm getting frustrated, and then it's like it just comes on pretty quick. So how do I know? I start getting kind of short in terms of my responses to people, maybe, or I just want to be left alone. Find somewhere that's quiet. So usually I just want to go somewhere quiet where I don't have background noise. I've already gotten a lot of background noise.
Yeah. No, the reason I ask is because, like, you know, like I think, again, I think a lot of us lack a lot of self-awareness, and not everyone's got PTSD. Not everyone's got, you know, whatever going on, but most of us have got something going on at some time. And if you can kind of have a level of awareness about, you know, when you're not running right, then you can maybe go and do something about it before, you know, like I know if I let anxiety run too long, it really affects my gastrointestinal tract. Like it might manifest in my stomach, and it's just,
absolutely.
And it's terrible. Like, so I have to try to make sure I'm on top of it. Like otherwise it affects your life. You end in a downward spiral, you know?
Especially that, and trying to combat these poor hygiene kitchens in these Asian countries over here. You know, it's like double whammy. So, and if you had a couple of beers the night before, that doesn't help either. So it's triple threat. You know.
Yeah.
Going to be praying to the porcelain gods.
Oh yeah, man, 100%. I remember a few experiences in China for sure. All right, cool. So you've ended up sort of in Auckland and Sydney. You've kind of, it sounds like you started a lot of your serious spearfishing in Australia, and maybe did you have a good go around Bondi and Sydney, or was it more Auckland?
No, it's Auckland, 100%, North Island, straight in the midst of it. Yeah.
So shooting a big kingy is a good way to get addicted to spearfishing, I think.
Oh yeah, that's like, you know, when we were up there in Exmouth, for example, I was just right on the shore. Like,
yeah,
you could see the car park. You know what I mean? Had no idea what I was doing, and we were shooting like fish the size of your hand. We were just like, we had no idea. Literally,
and frothing on it. Though.
We were and so stoked, like, oh man, it's freaking got one. And then, you know, when they comes out with his ears bent like a freaking triangle.
Yeah.
Shooting rocks and just kept reloading. But yeah, so shooting your first kingy is like when you basically have zero experience is pretty freaking cool. Gets you hooked on it pretty quick. And when you have also just the food, like how good is that? Epic.
Walk us through like a formative, like spearfishing story from your time in Auckland.
Oh man, I don't even know. So many, just epic territory, terrain. I used to go hunting at this. I was working at a dive shop down there, and then I was working with Ollie Craig, actually, the old reef hunter.
At Ocean Hunter?
Yeah, Ocean Hunter, classic. And so we were in there, and some dude comes in, and he was basically brand new to spearfishing, well, just like us, but this was kind of like a year later after I started. And he was like real new, like just like how I was the year before, you know?
Yeah.
And he was going on and telling us all these stories. So me and Ollie used to sort of try to get spots out of people. Oh yeah, man. Oh, that's cool. How's that? And we tried to get spots out of customers that were coming in. You know, they'd say, "Oh, I saw some big kingies over here." Oh, really? Where's that about? And so this guy told us this spot right in the middle of the city. We're like, oh, he's either taking the piss or there really is like real good kingies. And so he came in. The same guy came in like a week later, and he was missing a fin. And he showed us photos. He had gotten like a nice 20 kg kingy right in the middle of the city.
Wow.
I was like, no way, this is too good to be true. So yeah, shut out there, and you were just in pea soup, you know, like couldn't see the end of your gun basically, and hunting silhouette. And all those bronzes over there in Auckland. So that's in the back of your mind at the same time, but ended up getting a nice kingy, and sure enough, that guy was right. He was freaking epic little spot. I'm not going to say where, but really, really, really cool spot right in the middle of the city. Real bad viz, but super close shore dive too.
Did it tow you around, or how was your shot?
No, I freaking smacked it, and the spot is shallow as too. So like, I think the deepest spot was like 6 meters on that.
So good.
It's just insane. 6 meters right in the city. Like I just jumped on a motorcycle and rode over. Yeah, so I ended up smacking this team, and I really didn't plan for it because I thought the guy was just taking the piss, you know. So I wasn't planning for that at all. And I got the kingy out of the water. I'm like, shit, what am I going to do with this thing? It was like, I don't know, 16 or 17 kilos. It was good size for a little shore dive. And I was like, man, what am I going to do with this thing? How am I going to freaking carry it back? I don't even have a backpack or nothing to put it on. And I was on a KLR 650 Kawasaki. So I ended up taking my float line and I freaking tied it to the back of my bike. And it was kind of hanging off the back, like near the exhaust, draped over on either side. And I was going over the Auckland Harbor Bridge, and people were like honking their horns at me and, oh, cheer, bro, cheer. You know, like jumping out of their window and taking photos. And it ended up going everywhere. It was like, I thought people were like, bro, is that you? And I guess a bunch of people just put my photo up on one of the local dive pages and stuff.
Yeah.
Pretty funny comment.
Yeah, you were infamous overnight.
Oh, it was crazy. It was funny.
Sure. How did you find the Kiwi culture? Did you enjoy the?
Bro, so good. So like,
yeah,
just one of my favorite spots ever. And
Kiwi's pretty relaxed,
yeah,
pretty friendly. Like,
it's super friendly, super just epic people. And I had a real good sort of neighborhood. I was living in Ponsonby at the time, and my neighbor was like a brain surgeon, and the other one was a air traffic controller. And so they were always super stoked when I would come back with a bunch of fish.
Yeah, nice.
I would go over there and just, you know, I had so much fish, I didn't know what to do with it. That's just me. So I was like chopping it up, and here's a fillet to them, here's a fillet to them. And then next thing you know, like later on that day, I'd have like a case of 6, you know, nice wines from his friend's winery. And then this dude would invite me over to the barbecue. And it was like,
yeah, that's cool. I love that vibe too. I really miss that actually. Like,
or trading for hunters, like hunted pigs or goats or whatever. You trade some fish for goat.
I didn't realize they had that cool Kiwi community vibe in Auckland though. I always thought they were a bunch of wankers because it's such a big city. But I know that they're not all wankers, but you know, like big cities just seem to make people wankers, you know.
Yeah, these guys were, well, all the people that was in my little cul-de-sac, they were from kind of like the countryside, but because of their jobs, they had to be right centered in the smack of it. So
yeah, cool. That's cool. That's a good favorable impression you got of New Zealand. Anyway, so where did you get to from there?
Mate, after that, I did a trip around Asia, diving in the Philippines. That was pretty not very high on the list, I'd say. Philippines.
Why?
Well, in terms of fish, I don't know. Maybe I was in the wrong spot, but it seemed pretty
Hammered.
lacking in the fish front.
Because of the dynamite stuff, yeah, or like the.
Oh, they do that in Albania too. But no, I don't know. It's I really didn't see much.
Okay.
And then I was down in South Korea, but I was more like just freediving there. Taiwan, same thing. So I think this time around, I'm gonna bring the gun. I did bring the gun, but I never dove over there. So this time around, I reckon I'm gonna try to maybe hit up Taiwan, South Coast.
Yeah,
supposed to be pretty good. South Korea, probably not. They're pretty strict on their rules.
Same as Japan.
Timor-Leste, yeah. So
yeah, cool. So the travel bug still hasn't left you, and you've been doing it for years.
2012 to now, so it's been a while.
Yeah, man.
82 countries now, so we should be getting on 83rd shortly. But yeah, I'm not like flying through countries either, so it's kind of slow.
Yeah.
Usually like a month or two when I get in the country.
If you go to a country for 2 weeks, I feel like you still know just about nothing about it. Like it's like, I don't know, there's a sweet spot there. Maybe it's a month, but like you got to get
it depends on the size.
Yeah, right.
Size of the country. You go to Bhutan, you need like a few days, or Brunei, you can go for 4 days and you're good.
Yeah.
You go to like Brazil, you need 4 or 5 months at least.
Yeah. So I guess the same with Australia. Like every kind of state and territory is different. The temperature is different. Water's different.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Massive.
Yeah, cool. So what, are you partnered up with Mr. Joy in spearfishing?
Yeah, we are at the moment. Really, really stoked on their equipment, mate. I've been a fan of their stuff for a long time since I first sort of saw their stuff come to the forefront. Never had the chance to get one because I already had quite a few guns, timber guns. And I never was a roller guy actually for a long time. I used to actually talk a lot of crap about rollers. So I used to do those things. Traditional, right? America.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, but then I started getting into these rollers, and then now it's like those freaking rifles just collecting dust in the back there. So I got those rifles in Albania, but I don't see them coming out anytime soon. To be honest, they're gonna collect dust. These rollers are just way too good nowadays. And way shorter platform and a better bang for your buck to shoot broader range of fish.
I'd like to have a go with one. I'm using my go-to gun at the moment. Like I've still got a Duncan Henderson spear gun engineering, like 1 meter carbon roller and a pipe gun. But my main gun is stainless trigger mech. Yeah, did you see them when you were there?
The actual trigger itself. Do you have a special one of those that he makes you?
Nah, I don't think
sometimes
so.
he makes some interesting ones.
Okay. So. Yeah. But my go-to is really like this 1.2 meter Rabbitech stealth single roller.
Yeah.
They're using like an 18 mil band on it with a 7.5 mil shaft. I don't think most people can even load the frigging thing, but I like it. Just I feel like I'm cheating with that bit of extra range, but I like a single wrap as well, and yeah, I've just been loving it. So, but I would love to try a single roller or even a double roller timber gun. I would really, really like to try one.
Yeah, this thing is just buttery smooth, like so easy. And it's got like the trigger mech on it. It's got the Hermes trigger mech, so it's just really you're real confident in not having a misfire or anything like that. So no safety on it too, which I love not having a safety.
Oh,
treat it as a rifle,
Yep.
much better. And yeah, the way this configuration is right now, I've got it double wrapped right now because I do find that I shoot on the maximum effective range of my rollers. And I kind of got really good at that in the Mediterranean because the fish just didn't come in. So you're really shooting like as far as you could.
Yeah.
So yeah, out here doing the same thing, double wrap, and with the 105 valve, some joints here, and it's just working wonders so far. So just lost a nice wahoo the other day, but yeah, that's what happens when you shoot them on a roller and they just pull you in like 5 seconds. So I think I'm going to switch over to breakaway again.
Yeah, I've only shot one, but yeah, I just hooked the rig line up with the float, but didn't really have to use it too much. It was pretty good. But yeah, it's good having good people around you too when you shoot a nice fish. Like just that second shot security, it's just so good.
Oh yeah. I got a real good dive buddy over here. So actually, you guys that are just real good dive buddies and real watermen. They've been traveling around. They're super solid guys. So you don't have to worry about that. So
yeah, cool. I hear Ahmed's pretty cool as a freediving location because you can like walk off the beach and there's like 60 meters right there, and it's pretty chill conditions.
Literally right across the street from me right now is that exact day you're talking about. Awesome. It's epic. There's definitely a bit of current, a lot of down current out here. So you got to be careful. And just because of that, I'm going to start switching out of my reel to have the float line with like the float. That way, if you do get trapped with the down current, you can actually physically pull yourself up the line. Otherwise, it's pretty hard struggle to get up.
Yeah. Just sort of free immersion your way up to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some guy over there who's reached out to me a few times recently. He runs Fusion now. Are you familiar with some? Yeah. Is that an Ahmed or is that? I don't actually know.
Is that, who are you speaking of? Matt Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went out for a dive with him the other day.
Oh, cool.
We went out wide to the pads. Real fishy actually out there. And came across quite a lot of wahoo and mahi. And yeah, that's just down the road right here. So it's good to have options.
And he's like world record holder for free immersion. We were just talking about free immersion. So
yeah, he's hectic diver. He's like 105 or something.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's good to have those kind of people around.
Yeah, you'd probably just pick stuff up just from him chatting. Because like the technical freedivers, some of their knowledge about stuff, it's just like stuff we don't even think about. So
yes, definitely a different mentality,
Another massive part of the Killshot Spearguns family is depth charge charters. They don't just make functional and simple, reliable spearguns. These guys also bring amazing freedive spearfishing charters to the waters around the Florida Keys, particularly around the reefs of Isla Morada. Now, they've got a bunch of captains and legends, licensed freediving instructors, doing line diving, freediving courses, upping your spearfishing, going on spearfishing charters. Check it out at killshotspearguns.com. Email the team at killshotspearguns@gmail.com. But check it out. These guys have got a good thing going in the Florida area. If you are looking to do a freediving course or get out on a spearfishing charter in that part of the world, check it out at killshotspearguns.com and check out Depth Charge Charters. Massive thanks to today's sponsor, Dog and Gun Coffee. It's bloody good coffee, ready for adventure. They use specialty grade beans and roasted fresh in Brisbane by a small Aussie team. Their most popular product, and this is one that I love myself, are the preloaded drip filters, which allow you to have cafe quality coffee anywhere. And I use them out on my Stratty spearfishing adventures. It is legit cafe quality coffee that you can make with simple boiling water, add your own milk and sugar. Well, that's what I do anyway. Their owners, Sean and Rach, are keen hunters in and out of the water and want to encourage more people to get outdoors. That's pretty much the vision of Dog and Gun Coffee. Check it out at dogandguncoffee.com.au. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. Can't get better than that. Go to dogandguncoffee.com.au. Again, hey, I like the Sandbar Dark Roast as well. Check that out at Dog and Gun Coffee. Spear Ready is a 50-day training program designed to get you in shape to make the most of your spearfishing. It's a 50-day cross-training program designed to put you in shape and not feel like you don't have any breath hold when you arrive on your trip. If you can go spearfishing during the week during this program, you can even subtract something from the workout. I can guarantee that no other prep program is saying that. Check it out at noobspearo.com/spearready. There are always frothers training and trying to prepare and get in shape. It's a great way to stay motivated and do it together with our private Facebook group. Check it out again, noobspearo.com/spearready. One thing I really wanted to chat about today is a bit of a veteran's fault, is how to suss out an area and actually make it happen. Because I think a lot of people have these vague ambitions about going places and targeting species, and there's a couple of ways to do it. Like if you've got sort of a fair amount of budget, often you can find a really good, reputable local guide. Like, you know, if you're going to go to Tanzania, you look at Eric Allard, Extreme Blue Water. If you're going to go to Mozambique, you talk to Chris Coates. You know, if you want to go to Indonesia, I guess maybe target Dogtooth, you might talk to someone like Cameron Kirkconnell, or, you know, like, but not everyone's got an unlimited budget. It seems to me like you've sort of vagabonded DIY Spearo, maybe by choice a lot of the time, all the way around the world. So talk to me about, like, you start with an ambition or a dream to go to a certain country and target a certain species. What does your process look like, you know, from there to make it actually all happen?
So definitely one of the things first is obviously looking on the financial aspect of everything. I've got to understand that region of the world and understand how that country operates. Sometimes you're going to find that even though it might be a cheap country in terms of the accommodation or food or things like that, other things are super expensive, like guides, boats, and just impossible almost. So, and it could be vice versa. You could be in a more well-developed country, and then you'll have boats that are much cheaper. So it's really varies in that front. But first, I look at the financial aspect of things, because I'm constantly on the road. So I just want to balance that to make sure that I can maintain for the whole year and be able to travel and visas and diving, etc. So do that first. And then after that, I look at obviously the region of the world that I want to go. I understand the geography and the fish species that I want to hunt. That's important. Looking at your target species, and then from there, I'm doing a lot of research. Just most guys the same way, you know, jumping on the old Instagram and YouTube, trying to see if there's anything out there just to get a good idea of what's around. After that, if it's a place that's not too developed in the spearing front, you're really making your own track. So I refer to a lot of satellite imagery, and that I'm looking for structure that I think the fish that I'm hunting would be in. You know, if they're looking for rocky structure, or if I'm looking for grass or current, or by the edge of a river, depending on the species. So then I will try to position myself, you know, centrally located in terms of a location that I think the fish will be in.
Yeah.
But when you do that, it's like you gotta kind of like bite the bullet and just go for it sometimes, which is what I did recently in Brazil. And I was in the right location, and I was in a really fishy spot, but there was no weather window.
Yeah.
So I ended up booking like a whole month on Airbnb in down south there, and then it's like I was stuck.
Yeah.
Because there was no diving, and I'm 30 hours to the next good dive spot. So it's like you really, really got to commit, and if you don't commit, you never know. So you just never know if you're gonna. You don't know until you go, basically. So you just got to really bite the bullet and go for it. So yeah, in terms of that, I think commitment's a big one. Like, you got to really say screw it sometimes and just try. Because if you don't try, you never know.
So in terms of like practical tools, websites, any specific recommendations?
Yeah, if you want, like if you're going to stay in one region, I always use the Navionics for underwater topography and whatnot. Then go to the old Windy, check the forecast there. I use the satellite imagery from Google to understand. You can also understand a lot about the viz too, just based on the color of the water. So if it's that sort of milky blue, like the background of your screen right now, then I'm going to okay, that's going to be shit viz, If it's that nice dark black, almost bluish color, then okay, it's going to be deeper water, more clean. So you can understand a lot about that. Same with the greenish,
fresh water. Or
yeah,
chlorophyll.
exactly. Yeah.
Some people use like rip charts for chlorophyll counts and stuff like that to get an idea of what viz is going to be like. Doesn't seem super accurate, but it does seem to maybe give you some ideas or more intel anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard of that. What was that called?
Rip charts. Yeah.
Rip charts.
Yeah. They've got a chlorophyll count. I think you've got to have their premium subscription, but I don't know if you can do a trial period, but you can essentially go to a map that just shows you the chlorophyll density, in that area. But it's still a forecast, but it's modeled on, historic data and prevailing weather conditions based on what the meteorologists think, I guess. But it's just another tool in the belt, I guess.
Yeah, the other one I do is I look at the actual landscape, okay, is this what I find a lot of times? It sounds kind of weird, but I don't know if you've noticed this ever in your diving. What you see on the surface is kind of what you're going to see on the bottom. I'd say 50% of the time that holds true. So, if you're on a dry, arid looking deserty hill underwater, there probably isn't going to be a lot of, there's not going to be like seagrass or whatever. It's just going to be maybe more sandy and then little rocks, but not those big boulders, So judging from the terrain above, you can kind of figure out sometimes what the bottom's going to look like.
Yeah. It's cool when you It's cool when you start to look at underwater topography and then you do realize it often mirrors what's going on above the land. Hawaii is a perfect example of that. That place is crazy insane. But you can do it on a smaller scale too, where you see a ridge line and it's sort of going straight down towards a point, and then, funnily enough, a line of reefs follow that same ridge line out for the next, 3 kilometers, and there's various spots on it that everyone thinks is their spot, but really it's just just looking at it, you could potentially guess. But yeah, this is it's cool learning about all that stuff because being a good Spearo it teaches you all sorts of different things about how to be a kind of amateur scientist, amateur conservationist, amateur weather meteorologist, I guess, or a weather person, and even understanding topography. It's a cool little rabbit hole, I reckon.
It just keeps going, right? It's it just keeps going.
Yeah, for sure. It's some people are like, oh, how do you make a podcast about spearfishing? And I'm like, well, there's a little bit to it.
Yeah.
And people geek out on different facets of it too. You've done a bit of guiding too, though, eh? You are a good guy to ask about sussing an area out and making it happen. I like some of your points there, kind of about finding an area central to maybe an area of coastline that potentially could hold the fish that you've been looking at. And then obviously, but sort of, how do you determine what the what the likely financial outlay is going to be? Do you maybe call or email some local charter operators, or boat operators, or do you go on forums? You mentioned YouTube.
Yeah, I'll go on forums. I'll also go super old school and just look at a financial index of the region and just see their housing allowance and their general economy overall.
Wow.
To kind of get a better understanding, and it usually falls in line with wherever you're at. So
yeah.
There's some things, it's there's some random things sometimes in certain countries. This is not to do with spearfishing, but if you're in Brazil, okay, well, electronics are expensive because the import tax. So it's just random stuff like that you have to be aware of. It could affect spearfishing. So maybe fuel might be expensive, but then there you go. You're gonna obviously the boat price is going to go up.
Cool. All right, love it. With all this travel you've done, we'll just wrap out that thing. Like for guys doing sort of the DIY vagabond Spearo type life, or they aspire to it, there aren't a lot of you guys doing it, you know, like maybe what's an easy country or area that you would suggest to someone, maybe a Northern Hemisphere one and a Southern Hemisphere one, just for someone that's like maybe, you know, they're in that 18-25 bracket, they got a bit of disposable income, they're like, oh, I just want to go on a solo or like a mission with one mate, DIY spear an area. What's somewhere that's probably somewhat easier to do this for the first time? Like maybe one country in the north and one in the south.
Right, straight away, New Zealand. Just grab yourself a camper, go to the North Island, South Island. There's a variety of species, as you know, and there are plentiful amounts of fish. And all you need is just 4 wheels and a dream, and just freaking go for a night. Super easy to navigate, you know, it's English speaking, so how can you go wrong? And just tons of fish and lots of shore dives. So I think New Zealand probably is one of the best ones there. And then you can go, you know, you can do the same thing in the United States. There's tons of different diving all along the eastern and western coastlines there. So,
which one would you recommend? California or Florida?
Dude, to be honest, it's crazy. I've never even dove my own home waters. So I haven't been back to the States for ages. I just was there actually the first time in like, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
Just a year ago.
You just flew over for the inauguration?
Yeah, that's it. I haven't dove my home water, so but I'd love to go up and get some of those stripers up there in the northeast and
right on.
Likewise, those ghosts, those white sea bass in California.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool. Florida, I don't know. Florida doesn't really interest me because you can kind of do that diving anywhere. But those species are kind of endemic to the region. So.
Yeah, Florida seems different too. Like depending on where you are, you know, like there's quite a bit going on. It's quite a big state too. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right, cool. So what's the scariest situation you've ever had spearfishing?
Mate, I think I would probably say I was in a pretty nasty little Sharknado one time. Probably 2 things, and I think it was like the same day actually. I was like, got caught in the nasty down current, and I started drifting with the currents, and I didn't realize I came off my mark because it was just in the blue, and I came off my mark, and when I did my dive, I was in a different location than my previous dive, and so the dive before was fine. The next dive, I got down to like 20, 22, and I just started going, and I ended up shooting a jobby, and this was like a double. I got caught in a down current with this thing, and then as I was trying to get up the surface, just flying up, and I was like kicking as hard as I could, and I was barely moving. Plus the weight of the jobby, and he's pulling down. I get up to the top, and then just land with all these gray reef sharks, like just insane. Oh. Must have been at least 20, just straight away. They were going through my legs. They were freaking ramming me into this like side of the ribs. Every 5 seconds you just see like the mouth open right in front of your hand. It was super nasty. That was super remote in the Tuamotu. And yeah, you don't want to get bit out there because a guy did get bit actually a couple weeks later after that.
Wow.
In the same location from those same gray reef sharks. And then just a week ago.
Tuamotu's off Tahiti, eh?
Tuamotu's off Tahiti, yeah. French Polynesia.
Yeah, right. That wasn't Josh, was it? Humbert?
Yeah, Josh Humbert and Duncan was there as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, cool. Josh is about to come back on the show and try to jam up. We're going to talk about that specific experience. So it's
cool.
Small world, eh?
Yeah, I think one of the guys here, he's a mate of Josh that runs a dive shop out here. What's it called? Prada Dive.
Oh, okay.
Here in Albania.
Yeah, right. Tiny world.
Tiny.
So you started off with the Noob Spearo podcast way back in the day, and you biked cross country listening to it. What did you get out of it? Out of the first, like what made you keep listening?
Well, number one, it was like super random and something to keep my mind off the freaking heat. So I was like, there's nice water. Sounds great right now. So it's dying of thirst. And so, I reckon there was so many tips and tricks about just like in the early shows, it was like real helpful. There was people of all walks of life coming on and just telling you stuff that really had no idea about. A lot of people were saying, do a dive course. So I did end up doing a dive course, a free diving course. So that helped right off the bat with the safety and whatnot. That's high on the list. And then just, breathing techniques and just things, how to be more calm in the water. And so many things. Like those early shows really helped me out a lot.
Yeah, I guess that's useful. Like I always think of podcasts. Whenever I want to learn anything, I just try and find a good podcast in that subject, and away I go. It is a very specific sort of learning, though. But like stories is a pretty powerful way to learn as well, which is why I always try to get lessons from people. Have you played much around with a pole spear?
Well, I got one right there in the back.
Yeah.
This
Rife.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. No, this is Evolve.
Okay.
From Hawaii. So I'm going to start messing around with that. Might actually bring it out right after this podcast. I'm going out for a dive. So I might mess around with that in the blue water, go for some mahi or something like that. But I've used them in the past for kind of invasive species and things of that nature. Just super handy. It's real. They're just nice to have. But I was using one of those roller pole spears for a while, but that was so heavy. And just I really didn't find it to be as useful as one of these more thin, traditional style ones. So
yeah, okay. I got the latest sponsor on the show, Astad, just partnered up with them. He sent me his one. It's 3.75 meters carbon from like sort of Japanese type style, but it's got a roller on it, but it's super light. It's not cumbersome at all. And,
I've had the one I had was like stainless steel stainless. Maybe aluminum or something.
Heavy. Yeah, righto. Yeah. Yeah, the carbon's nice. I don't know. I don't know enough about them broadly as a product category, like with all of the different style ones to really understand them. All I know is like, the one I'm using is pretty, like it feels so easy in the water. So.
Yeah, this one does as well. It's just fast.
Yeah.
And, you break it down into a different length if you need, if you want to go into a little cave.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Did you know when coming up from a spearfishing dive, it's possible that you would feel 100% fine right until the moment you blacked out? Did you know being dehydrated or hungover increases your risk of having a blackout? Did you know I have never seen a person hit the surface and yell, "Dad, help, I'm about to black out, come save me"? No, they typically hit the surface, take a couple breaths, and then quietly sink into the abyss. Whether they live or die is 100% dependent on if you are close enough to grab them and take care of the situation. Did you know that if you have a loss of motor control or blackout and you continue diving that day, you are way more likely to have a much worse blackout? My name is Ted Hardy, the founder of Immersion Freediving, and I want to do more to stop the needless fatalities from shallow water blackout than any other person on the planet. And that's why I created freedivingsafety.com. You can learn how to reduce your risk of having a blackout, how to save your buddy's life, how to tell if you're wearing too much weight, and avoid breathing techniques that drastically increase your risk of having a blackout, and it's all for free. Go to freedivingsafety.com and sign up for my free safety course. Dive safe out there. It's not even that hard, especially when you can learn for free at freedivingsafety.com.
Check out the hardest hitting, heavy duty, dirty dogtooth tuna mastering float line at oldmanblue.com.au. Not all float lines are created equal, especially when landing a shot in a big, dirty fighting fish that just wants to drown your float. Slow them down with the Old Man Blue heavy duty float line. It comes with a full brake system. Also included are heavy duty shark clips on both ends with D-shackles. Included is a shock cord lanyard for keeping it neat and tidy on the boat. Check out the hardest hitting, heavy duty, dirty dogtooth tuna mastering float line at oldmanblue.com.au. how cool is it going on a spearfishing adventure with like-minded frothers? I love tapping into this vibe and energy and being around people that have exactly the same values and want to just get their froth on for a week of spearfishing. If you are interested in doing a course, charter or trip, I would love to hear about it. Go to spearfishingcourses.com.au/interested and register. Tell me where you want to do a course or charter. Let me know. And if I've got a bunch of people that are keen and like-minded, we're going to put that trip together and make it happen. Again, go to spearfishingcourses.com.au/interested and fill out your details there. And let's get some trips on the road and get out there and get our froth on with a spearfishing adventure of a lifetime. What's your top 2 target species there where you are? Top 3, maybe.
Right now, I would say I can't really say my target species is a sailfish because that's kind of going to happen if it happens. It's going to show up if it does. But my target species right now is I'd say the moon,
Midnight,
duggies, and those midnight snappers. We've got some here that are fat.
Oh, yeah.
Super big, and they're just so fun to hunt because they're just really wary, so they just keep their distance. They make you really work for it, and I like those type of fish.
All right. Let's go to some sort of faster questions and we'll head on out. Top 5 spearfishing destinations and a quick why.
Top 5 spearfishing destinations. New Zealand, just for the ease of access and big game species. I love it. I would say in terms of just remoteness, I would say, the Tuamotus is a really cool spot. Tons of fish. You really need to have a good dive team there to go with you because of the amount of sharks. And also, I would say take a tourniquet because if you do get bitten by a shark, you're super far away from any help. So that's important. Number 3, I would say, I don't know. Maybe Brazil was I didn't really get to experience it a lot, but it's so interesting. Just the freshwater and the saltwater. There's such a magnitude of species there, so you can really get amongst it. Australia's way up there. Just so many places you can go. It's insane, and tons of fish. And other than that, I would say maybe Fiji or Kingdom of Tonga.
I can't hear. There's no. I thought you'd have at least a med spot in there, but it slid right out, eh?
Yeah, but the freaking Albania, it was on there.
Yeah.
But with the way they've just developed it so much in the boats now, it's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit.
Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks.
Turkey is cool, but diving over there, I find it kind of difficult. They're kind of like a nanny state, and get a lot of. You got to do permission with the Coast Guard, get handwritten in Turkish to be able to dive. And they want to know where you're going.
Oh wow, that's hectic. Top 3 worst spots. What worst places to go spearfishing and why? Would Turkey make that list because of the nanny state stuff?
I would say that's pretty high on the list. They do have, bluefin tuna over there, but it's like you're shooting them in an aquarium. You're just going off of it's like a big pen full of fish. It's a huge fish farm, and they're just sitting right in front of you.
Can't do that.
You're not shooting them in the fish farm, but I'm saying the bluefin are outside of the fish farm, so it's just like shooting fish in a barrel.
That'd be fun. So they're there because of the farmed fish, and they're sort of milling around the outside. Yeah, no, I'd still do that. That'd be fun. Yeah,
it's not. I'd love to find one naturally though, just kind of swimming around.
Yeah,
but it's still a bluefin tuna at the end of the day. So how can you go wrong? Top 3 worst, and then Dominican is freaking number 1. I'd say.
Yeah.
Dominican. Just all I waited. I was there for a year, and I'm waiting for the right season, and it's the whole time it's just wind and waves.
And they got cicatera there as well.
Cicatera and a lack of fish, huge lack of fish compared to their, I would say their cousins across the way in Puerto Rico. Way more fish there. So yeah, and maybe Montenegro.
Yeah.
Montenegro.
Okay.
Also, quite a lot of rules. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's daunting, eh? Like, like when you're in a foreign country, learning their rules and all that stuff, like that's the most painful stuff, eh? Yeah, makes you grateful for what you have.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. Let's do like Spearo Q&A. Top piece of spearfishing advice you've ever been given?
Top piece of spearfishing advice. Don't risk it for the biscuit.
Okay.
Don't risk it for the biscuit. No fish is worth it, So if it's too deep, don't chase it down. Come back up.
All right. Number one traveling tip.
Traveling tip, just be prepared. Have all your equipment and understand where you're going and the equipment that you're going to need.
Okay, cool. Last question. What does the spearfishing experience mean to you in one sentence?
I would just say it means peace.
Ooh,
just peace.
Peace. I haven't heard that one. That's nice. Yeah, cool, man. Was there anything else you wanted to chat about that we didn't get to today?
No, man, I think we covered everything. Actually, it's been really epic to talk to you, and it's been a pleasure to be invited on the show, and I really appreciate it. You started me out, so it's nice to come over here and give you thanks in person. So,
cool,
for that, mate.
All good. It's been cool watching your journey on Instagram, Deepwater Dreaming, for guys that want to follow Patrick. Is there any other way guys can contact you, or is that the best way?
Oh, that's the best way, mate. Just Deepwater Human. You can find me on Facebook. But I'm not exactly there, so.
Yeah. All good. Patrick. Well, mate, I don't want to hold you back from getting out for a dive and maybe blasting something with that pole spear. You also have a good day.
Cheers, brother. Cheers. Thanks so much, mate, and it's been a pleasure.
Hey, guys, hope you enjoyed Patrick Ryan, Deepwater Dreaming on Instagram, the absolute premier vagabonding Spearo. I hope you really enjoyed hearing some of his adventures today and learning a little bit more about him. Always good to have a long-form conversation, I reckon. Hey, next week, we're off to chat with a whole group of frothers from the West Australian Underwater Club. These guys are really cool, really different personalities, a vibrant conversation. I would definitely encourage you to check that out because they really capture the social, competitive, the whole aspect of the spearfishing and particularly sort of the Perth metropolitan area, but they travel north and south and they do all sorts of stuff with other clubs up and down that seaboard. And that club is having new life just breathed into it. It's so good to see and hear. So come back for that in a week. West Australian Spearfishing Club. We've got some good ones coming up for you. Episode 300 is coming up too. We're about 10 episodes away. And if you've got some ideas you'd love to hear on the episode 300, we try and make it a community special. So it's really about our patron listeners that put fuel in the Noob Spearo outboard every week. We're going to try and get a bunch of those guys on and cast a vision for, where Noob Spearo Podcast is going into the future. Obviously, 300 episodes. It's pretty big. I think like 90% of podcasts never make it past episode 20. So it's a testament to you guys, the listeners. It's a testament to the sponsors, the patron listeners. Massive thanks. And if you want to be part of that, jump in, please. It'll be awesome to hear your ideas. Send me an email, shrek@noobspearo.com, or go to noobspearo.com, head up into the menu, give back and leave me a Nooba story voice message up to 3 minutes with your idea or your shout out for episode 300 that I can include. It'll be great to hear a whole lot of voices from our community and you guys, the listeners. I'm always grateful. Hey, that's it for me for this week. Come back next week, WA Undersea Club with Matt. I'll see you there. Hey guys, this episode brought to you by Astard Roller Pole Spears. Astard is a brand rooted in craftsmanship and tradition, inspired by the Japanese freedivers, the Ama. Their logo, a hand-drawn star, symbolizes starting from a single point, exploring and returning safely, capturing the essence of their journey and design philosophy. Founded by Adam, who spent 15 years in southern Japan, but originally from West Australia. He has a background in aviation, digital and photography, and him and his lifelong friend Kim, and a mechanical genius herself, founded Astard, which embodies a passion for quality, innovation and versatility. Check them out at astard.co. They have a roller pole spear that will make your head spin. I'll give you the hot tip. Check it out at astard.co. Use the code NoobSpearo. Have free shipping anywhere on the planet. You can't get any better than that. Go to astard.co. Check out their roller pole spear. You need one in your arsenal today. Check it out. Use the code NoobSpearo for free shipping anywhere in the world. Some days when you've maybe shot those 4 or 5 fish that you came for, might be time to pull out the pole spear, jump back in and rediscover that passion and learning that you had right at the start of your journey. This is one of the best tools for becoming a better hunter. Check it out, astard.co. Are you US based, looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website, so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends, and if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right, use the code NOOB10, N-O-O-B 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's Noob Spearo Podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code Noob Spearo to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom!